So when it comes to Xbox, when it comes to where they stand in terms of their success and the amount of profit they are making, it really only matters to Xbox. As a gamer, I mean, it doesn't really make a big difference other than knowing that the company is successful. They're going to continuously bring out games. They're going to keep trying to grow the great service of Xbox Game Pass, and your platform that you enjoy playing on will be here to last. And we don't ever actually get those really official numbers in terms of the actual amount of profit that Xbox is making and how successful they truly are stacked up against the other major players like Nintendo and PlayStation. And now we kind of have some insight as to where it stands because of the leaks from the documents from the FTC case. This is an article here on Tweaktown that does a pretty good breakdown as to what is going on. So it says here, Microsoft is very selective in what data it releases on its various divisions. This includes gaming, which is now Microsoft's fourth best earning business in terms of revenue, with $15.4 billion earned in fiscal year 2023. Every quarter, Microsoft will report three metrics on the Xbox business: content and services earnings. So we always look at that whenever those financial calls do come out and where they're going. Have they increased? Have they decreased? Where are they making the most amount of money compared to their hardware revenues, which is another thing that they report. And then the finalized Xbox gaming number. They say that sometimes Microsoft will also release a new Xbox Game Pass figure, but they haven't done that for some time. The last official number from an announcement from Xbox directly, not anything through the FTC and the Xbox Activision Blizzard stuff, has been 25 million Game Pass subscribers. And there's a lot of talk as to where that number is right now. I think it's well over 30 million, and you can pretty much guarantee it will be on their next report, especially with the inclusion of the Xbox Game Pass core numbers. Now, the other thing that we have heard about through the Xbox Activision Blizzard FTC trial stuff, Xbox Games division accountability margin. And what we understand from that is that their accountability margin of 1.5 billion has been for the first 9 months of fiscal year 2022. But what exactly is the accountability margin? Phil Spencer was actually testified to what this was during the trial. And the question here was, on the other side, we have Sony with PS5 and a very analogous hardware subsidy. Sony's gaming profit and loss runs at a lower gross margin and an accountability margin percentage than other gaming businesses. And they say even though they have 2 times the console install base. Now, gross margin is GM as they reference it in the documents, and AM is accountability margin, and that's how they confirm that that is exactly what he's talking about. And the question from that is that like profit? And speaking about the accountability margin, and Phil Spencer responds, that's the percent of your revenue that you keep in profit. Now, from these leaked documents, we can see here that they have $1.5 billion in their accountability margin throughout fiscal year 2022 over those 9 months. And if you do break it down based off of the percentage that we do know PlayStation and Sony have as their profits, we have this. It says, according to our findings, Xbox Gaming had 12% accountability margin for 9 months in the period in fiscal year 2022. However, in the aforementioned testimony, Spencer says that the Xbox business today runs at a single-digit profit margin. And he says comparing this number with the other big 3 players isn't exactly straightforward, but the accountability methods may be different. We're not entirely sure how Microsoft calculates its accountability margin, but the closest comparisons we have are PlayStation's $1.419 billion in operating income, which represents a 7% margin, and $2.977 billion in a net profit for Nintendo, which represents a strong 25% margin. So you're asking what all this means, all these crazy numbers and margins and all this stuff. What it means is that we kind of can see now the picture as to which companies are making the most amount of profit on their gaming business. And it ranks like this. You got Nintendo at number 1, which with how successful the Switch is, not that surprising. And then you have in second place, Xbox ahead of PlayStation by a small amount, but ahead. 1 1.419 billion versus 1.5 billion in terms of the amount of revenue that they get to keep in profit. And this is actually very, very eye-opening and very interesting to see, because we have heard so many times whenever Microsoft and Xbox put out their financials, especially from the fanboys going back and forth, that how much are they making in profit? It's all about profit. PlayStation is obviously making so much more. They can't compete with PlayStation. PlayStation gives the numbers. Xbox obviously hides the numbers because they're not making as much. And according to this analysis, it doesn't seem to be the case. Xbox is ahead of PlayStation, and Xbox and PlayStation are overall very close, and that competition is fierce. And my takeaway from the pushback against the Activision Blizzard deal from PlayStation is so strong, because they are seeing that they are falling behind in terms of the amount of profit they make compared to Xbox. And that gap is about to get a lot bigger with all of the Activision Blizzard stuff coming into Xbox and into Xbox Game Pass. So pretty interesting stuff here, pretty eye-opening stuff, pretty crazy stuff. I honestly wouldn't have expected it to be this way right now. I expected it after the Activision Blizzard deal that they would be bigger and making more money. And just throughout this generation, by the end of it, I expected Xbox to be bigger, but they're already there right now in terms of their operating profit. Now, we also did get a response from Phil Spencer and from Xbox with this, all the leak stuff. He's clearly not happy with what is going on and disappointed in this leak, because just another blow with all of the PR stuff, that this is going to end up looking bad in a lot of ways for Xbox. But here's what Phil Spencer says. Now, what's funny is that this is actually an internal memo, and I'm not sure if this was actually sent out to The Verge or not, but let's just assume that this is another internal thing that maybe wasn't supposed to come out to the press, but it did, or whatever the case may be. This isn't a big deal. It's kind of showing where Xbox is coming from. But here is his full memo. He says, team, today, several documents submitted in the court proceedings related to our proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard were unintentionally disclosed. I know this is disappointing, even if many of the documents are well over a year old and our plans have evolved. I also know we all take the confidentiality of our plans and our partners' information very seriously. This leak obviously is not us living up to that expectation. We will learn from what happened and be better going forward. We will all put incredible amounts of passion and energy into our work, and this is never how we want that hard work to be shared with the community. That said, there's so much more to be excited about, and when we're ready, we'll share the real plans with our players. In closing, I appreciate all of the work that you pour into Team Xbox to surprise and delight our players. In the days and weeks ahead, let's stay focused on what we can control, continuing the amazing success of Starfield, the upcoming launch of the incredible and accessible Forza Motorsport, and continuing to build games, services, and devices that millions of players can enjoy. So there's a response. Well, I think the big takeaway from this response, really, if there is any other than Phil Spencer being just extremely disappointed, and if you're working on the Xbox team in any capacity and stuff you've been spending your blood and sweat and tears putting years into, now just gets leaked like this, I'm sure it must be hard. But the thing here is, he says this, that said, that there's so much more to be excited about, and when we're ready, we'll share the real plans with our players. So I think that's the big takeaway. What we saw with those internal leaks, I would say the real only concrete stuff that you can say will 99% happen is that Series Digital with that new controller. Those look legit, those look real, and it just makes sense from Xbox's plans on where they are trying to go, which, whether you like it or not, and as somebody, as I say all the time on my channel, I like physical, I collect physical. I do definitely partake in both of my huge digital catalog and my physical catalog, but I like game preservation, and I would never want to see it going away, but it is going away. And that's not just because of Xbox, that's because of where the industry is going. PlayStation is going along that route too. As we've heard, they are trying to phase out the disc drive version of their console, but it's just going in that direction. And it makes sense for them to put out a digital version of the Xbox Series X with a larger hard drive, a larger 2 terabyte hard drive, for people to decide whether they want that one or the one with the disc drive. That's why I think that console is 99% actually going to be happening. But the other stuff that came out was a lot of emails, back and forth emails, that people are taking as Xbox is going to go out and actually do some of these things like purchase Nintendo. And I jumped on that bandwagon right away as well when I first read it. Then I realized that may not be the case. It really is just sounding like aspirational corporate speak emails going back and forth. If you've been involved in any business, there's always long email chains of these aspirational type things of how people believe businesses can be grown in a utopian world where they get whatever they want, or at least their own utopian world. So I think that's kind of more where that was. And it also kind of sounded like Phil Spencer was kind of trying to play down somebody thinking that buying Nintendo was even possible. But we don't know. We don't know. Maybe he truly does want to make it his career moment buying Nintendo. It will never happen, though, at the end of the day. It's an absolutely absurd thing to think that could happen or will happen. And I hope something like that never does actually occur, because Nintendo being on their own is far better than being together with a company like Microsoft or another major company out there. If Amazon or Google tried to sweep in and pick them up. But I'm going to end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.
Thank you.